Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the FV4202. This is a British Tier 8 premium tank. I honestly, I don't remember if it's a heavy tank or a medium tank, but I assume it's a medium tank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drive and I'm going to get behind the enemy. I'm going to snipe at the enemy and I'm going to do damage from behind. And I'm going to go sneak up on some of their tank destroyers. And one of the things you're going to notice, I use the 105 octane. It makes this tank move very quickly. It performed very well in the water until I got to the point where the water notification turned on. So you can see I stayed as far to the right as possible. Still haven't been spotted. Still going 50 kilometers. And now you're getting to a point where you can start getting shots on these tanks that are trying to climb the hill. When I hit that deep water notification, it reduced my speed by half. This is actually a very safe place to play. You have a little ridge you can hide behind. You can't hit every tank, but you can hit a lot of them. And you can watch how this tank, look how he panics because he's getting shot from behind.
That one didn't go through.
And he's going to take a random shot. He doesn't spot me, but he's going to try, you know, he's going to shoot in my direction.
Enemy armor is damaged.
And that's why I moved. I wanted to switch up the position a little bit. So you can see that his buddy, I guess it was a WZ-111, died.
Enemy is hit.
Now remember, the 113 is a very strongly armored tank. And I don't have the greatest gun on this tank.
Target acquired.
But he's just a sitting duck. I mean, we had our way with him. Using APCR rounds.
Gotcha.
So now what I usually do is I go through this little bit of water and I'm going to drive around the corner. Sometimes there's tanks there, and it can be actually quite often that you're going to find a tank when you come around the corner. But they weren't here. They're going to be a little bit further around. There's going to be a couple tanks, tank destroyers, and I'm going to get a little greedy. I got really excited at this point that I snuck up on these guys.
Ready to fire.
Now from this point I've got the T-28 prototype, the STRV, and some tanks off the distance that I could shoot at. And it's, like I said, it's not every day that it's this easy to get around to the back here. So I did get a little greedy. I'm going to show you what happened. I think I am going to kill that tank. I rammed him. But you can see the STA-1 is shooting at me. And the T-28 prototype is going to start aiming at me now. So I took shots from 3 different tanks, the T-57, the STA, and the T-28. But I wanted to show you that it is possible to make it around the back, not only in the low-tier games, and that's how you do it.
Time to roll out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is a KV-5. This is a Russian Tier 8 premium heavy tank, and the map is hills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flank the enemy. I'm going to head up the east side to the north to the C9 area, and there's a little bush and a rock that you can hide behind that will allow you to shoot. If you look where the enemy WZ-111 is, you're going to be able to hit the tanks that are approaching that area. And this is the way I play this map almost every single time I play, regardless of what tier or what tank, whether it's a tank destroyer, a heavy tank, light tank, etc. Obviously with the exception of the SPGs. So the first thing you want to do is you want to drive through this territory. There's a kind of a shortcut. You can go through the town If you have a slow tank, you might want to go through the town. Or if you have a fast tank, you might want to go through the town. But usually I kind of take this route going around the buildings. You'll notice that we do not have an allied tank defending the east side other than me. So tanks that might come around on the east side will be able to make it around as it is right now. Potentially the enemy IS-6 might be doing that. Now I know that there's other people that play this position because I encounter a lot of enemy tanks here and a lot of friendly tanks also. I think the T-49 is going to be out of my range. You can see the IS-6 is already shooting at me. The IS-6 is not going to be a problem. But you're going to see this Conqueror here. I'm going to hit him. I'm going to be taking a lot of shots at him. I am using HE rounds because I'm working on a mission that requires damaging internal modules, which is why I'm using the high explosive rounds. You do have to watch out for the snipers off in the distance there. For example, that tank and that tank. They will shoot at you. The IS-6 is not going to be a big problem. He's going to be dealt with eventually. Now, one thing that is a problem is that these houses, such as that one right here, will always be in the way. So sometimes you have to shoot the house down. There is a way to get around it, which I'm going to show you later in the video. The other thing is, the tanks that head over there, you see this AMX 1390. Look at him on the mini-map. Look at where I'm pointing on the mini-map. Down below, there's going to be a lot of tanks in that gap. And I shoot at those tanks. You fire high explosive rounds at the side armor. You do good damage, even against higher tier tanks. They will shoot back at you, so you got to be careful for that. So let's move on.
We didn't penetrate their armor. Let's find another target.
You can see I knocked the house down. Now that they've noticed me and they're shooting at me, I have to play a different strategy. One thing you can do, if you do get away with it, you see where the IS-6 is, there's a house right next to him. You move up to that house if it's safe. But in this case, I've got to play differently. I got 2290, 2500 damage blocked by armor. I did not complete the mission for the high explosive rounds, unfortunately. So now look at where I'm positioning my tank right now. You can see that over here I can shoot over the house, and I've got a little bit of protection with that rock, and the snipers such as that ISU-152 off in the distance there, he can't shoot at me. So this is actually a good position. That's why you need the oil consumables to get the power to get up here. And it also protects me from the IS-6. However, it's not perfect because tanks will come around this lower area to take shots at you.
Enemy armor is hit.
You can see how high I can go.
Critical hit.
So just grab a look at that, how that tank is positioned there next to that rock. So you can, I was a little bit higher, I moved back a little bit. So you can shoot over those rocks.
I don't see the target.
Scores 11-1. I don't know if I turned the tide in the game or not, but you absolutely can make it easier for your team.
They're knocked out. Critical hit.
And as I was saying, there's a house right here in front of me, which is right here. You can hide behind that house. It's a solid house. They cannot destroy it. There are bushes next to it that you can hide in, and there's a little dip right after those bushes that you can go inside that dip and you get a little bit of extra protection. It's a hull down position. Okay, so that's all I want to show you. I probably am the one who's going to kill off that last tank. Let's move on to the next video.
Move out.
Yeah, hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. This tank is the Object 252U Defender. It's a Russian Tier 8 premium tank. It's a heavy tank. And the map is Tundra. Now what I'm going to do, if you look at the mini-map, I'm going to drive through the river. I'm going to get behind the enemy, which is going to be up on the hill. And I'm going to flank them from behind. And I'm basically going to take shots at them from behind. And we're going to encircle the enemy and surround them. And we're going to obviously kill them. So this was actually a pretty quiet trip. There's going to be actually one tank that I'm going to encounter on the way over, but he's going to be easy for me to take care of. Sometimes you'll see tanks drive by, however, they were very fast, so they all came by before I got here. And you have to be aware of tank destroyers and sometimes even artillery that will be in the backfield. Here's an example of one of them. It's going to take probably 3 shots to take care of this guy. And I was worried that the enemy might come after me, but they didn't. This was one of the better games, the easier games. So you can see that he was easy to finish off. There's an AMX 1390 that is also heading through here. He went and scouted out the area, so I know it's pretty safe. There's going to be no snipers behind me. And I basically climbed up the hill. This was actually very easy. Usually it's not this easy. Now one thing you're noticing is I'm staying to the left. So I'm using the rock in front of me to defend me because there are enemy tanks to my left. And even though that wasn't the proper angling, that's actually very poor angling for this tank. It has a piked nose, and basically I was showing him a flat surface. With this type of tank, you have to angle it differently than other tanks. But I positioned my tank to show the least amount possible.
Target acquired. Penetration. Where'd they go? Target lost. Ready to fire. Target mobilized. We've lost the track. They killed our driver. Target acquired. Bail out. This vehicle is heading.
One of the things that I wanted to add, I don't know if you were watching, I'm sure you were not watching the ping time, but throughout this game there was a lot of lag. You'll notice that when I killed the ROM, the first tank destroyer, I killed him a lot faster when I was playing the game than what shows in the replay. In the replay it shows a little bit more of a delay. And you'll notice that he shot at me and it bounced, and the notification of his bounce was delayed. So there were a couple of bumps. And what happened when I got here is, in part, we have new consumables now that are reusable, and I had to redo my keys. I'm used to hitting the number 4 and then the number 5 to reset my tracks, and I got confused. And we had a little bit of lag, so I was like sitting here not knowing what to do, which is why these tanks killed me. But otherwise, it was a good game.
Move out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com, playing World of Tanks. I'm going to show you some strategies in this video that you can use to improve your gameplay. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you learn something new about the game. So at this point, just from doing that maneuver, 1,077 spotting damage. And they didn't really spot me until I moved into that last bush there.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com, playing World of Tanks. The tank is the M4190. This is the German Tier 8 light tank, and the map is Arctic region. I like to go through the middle. Normally I go around the other side of that mound, but because of the way I spawned, I took a different route. And I'm going to follow through here. This is the exact same route I always take. There's a little ramp over here, and this is when you're going to start to be a little bit more cautious. And this is the point that you're going to go to when you need safety, right there that I just passed. You continue driving through here. You use the mound on the right for protection. There's a little spotting bush. Normally, almost every time I play, I spot a tank up there. Almost always happens. Didn't happen this game. Often, there are tanks right over here behind this rock. At least 50% of the time. Very dangerous. But in this game, it was a little bit different. I'm going to sneak all the way to the enemy base, kill their SPGs, and hunt down the remaining tank. And it's going to have a great ending. So I stayed here a little bit longer. I was a little bit confused because there were no enemy tanks around. Usually there is. There's another spotting bush over here. This tank is AFK.
Permission to engage.
However, there are 2 enemy artilleries. I will get spotted. They can shoot at me if they want to. I don't think they will. But I was concerned about that, so I spent a little bit more time shooting at them.
Penetration.
After 2 or 3 shots, you have to move around a little in
Enemy armor is hit.
case artillery shoots.
Enemy is hit.
Now, this is a game where I accidentally slid off the side, and remember this because it is possible to get back up. So if you're in danger, you can use that technique to escape danger, and I almost did it again.
Ready to fire. Penetration.
Now, in this game, the enemy made it easy for me to get through the backfield.
Where did they go? Enemy vehicle destroyed.
That's why it's important to always protect all your flanks. The Jackson didn't even notice. I mean, he's just driving away, not realizing the threat. Now, there's many different ways to handle this. Okay, there he goes. If you're not spotted, there's a bush over here. If you go around this way, you have to be very careful because you're going to have tanks like the Jackson, which could be even up here on this ridge shooting at you. That's why I know from experience the safest thing to do is head for this little gully over here, or this little canyon. Now, here you're not completely safe because what will happen is the tanks that are on the upper level will come down here, especially if there's 2 of them. If there's 2 of them, expect that one of them will come down. If there's 1, they may or may not. You got to keep an eye on them. What you can do is you can drive down this road over here and get behind them and shoot them in the back. I've done it before. But in this case, I decided for whatever reason, I think I'm going to go shoot at the Rudy. And you'll notice that what I was doing is I'm checking that rock behind me, and I'm making sure that the Jackson is on the other side of that rock. I don't want him to be able to shoot at me. So I'm driving and paying attention to that rock to make it more difficult. See, there I am checking again to make sure that it's safe for me to cross over. And I'm going to do the same thing. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the rock so that he cannot shoot at me and get as far away from him as possible. Spot the SPG.
Permission to engage.
He must have moved.
Where did they go?
Kill the Rudy.
Enemy armor is destroyed. Target acquired.
Now you notice I'm going to head for the low area, which is over here on the right, because it's safe for me.
Penetration. Track hit.
Gotta get as low as possible.
I don't see the target. Gotcha.
Now you'll see that there's a Yag Panzer. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm lining up the rock between me and him while I decide what to do, because there's a Jackson over there too. I've got 2 tanks to worry about. Now, you have to know, are your allies going to help you? Are you going to go at it alone? There is a safe route, and the safe route is going to be to head back that way to the red line and crawl along that way and go around. That's the safest way to do it. I don't think that... Oh, maybe I could go that way. Maybe there's a way to go back to the SPG and head that way. But I'm going to take the route that I think is the safest. I'm going to back up to try and get outside of his spotting range. I think he is actually going to shoot at me. Trying to line up a shot. Was unable to do so. He's almost outside of the spotting range. But unfortunately, he's not spotted. I have an idea where he is. The score is 11-7. Now we're at the point where we're going to hunt them down. Okay, so obviously they spotted me. I had to sit there to wait for the binocs to turn on. So now I said, okay, I'm going to take the route along the edge here. And this is going to have an incredible ending. And it's not the first time I've done it. So I'm going to go after the Jagdpanzer. Got 2 tanks left as far as... Oh no, the SPG, I think he... Okay, so there's the SPG. That's 4 kills. Now, the Jagdpanzer, if he's smart, he's either going to go down in the dip and wait for us to jump on him, or he's going to be aiming for this corner right here. And I play with between 150 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds of ping time every day, so he's going to have the faster reaction time. And because I prefer to use the auto aim and I'm going to come whipping around the corner, he's going to get the first shot in. I've only got 41 hit points. But there's a way to get the first shot in on him. And what you're going to find is that his gun is, in fact, pointing at this corner, and he is waiting for me to come around. However, I'm going to hit him before he hits me. You got to zoom out. You don't want to be zoomed in. You want to be zoomed out. I maximize zooming out, and I picked a different angle. And the reason why is because if you change it, for example, I can see around the corner now, and now I can't. So I angle it so I can get a better view around the corner. And there you go.
Ready to fire. Penetration. We're done for. Everyone get out. Unfortunately,
my tank turned sideways, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Well, I lost my forward momentum, but I did get the shot in, and he's basically going to get killed by the next tank that comes along. So this shows you that it was very easy for me to go through the middle, go to the enemy base, and I don't know if I helped turn the tide. I don't think I had that much of an impact on the game. But in general, with this type of strategy, you absolutely can turn the tide on the game.
Time to roll out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the FV201A45. This is a British Tier 7 heavy tank. It's a premium tank, and the map is Swamp. What I normally do on this map is you can look at the mini-map. I'm pointing my gun at the direction I want to travel to, and then I follow my gun. So you can see I'm heading towards the G4 area. And that's usually where I go, and I go to spot the tanks heading south and take shots at them. You'll notice that the T-49 is going to my position that I normally play at. So I'm going to back him up. He's spotting tanks, and it gives me an opportunity to hopefully try a different position. Very difficult to get a lot of these tanks. You don't get a lot of shots on them crossing down because they travel on the other side of a little hill. So you can see the T-49 left. However, I'm moving to a more central position, which is, of course, this larger rock formation.
Permission to engage. Critical hit.
I need to protect my tank right now because I've been spotted. So I got to get it behind that rock, and I'm using the auto aim and firing as I'm putting my tank in a defensive position.
Where did they go?
And it's like I always say, you got to make decisions quickly. So I'm always moving to the next position to hunt down the enemy. Sometimes you can get shots on those tanks, but that's not the position to do it. So you can see that the T-29 is retreating. You got to watch the minimap and watch the tank, and you have to judge it very carefully. The Waffenträger got a lucky shot and he did a lot of damage. I'm going to stay as low as possible, make it to this ridge, and then I'm going to set up to a shooting position, which is right here. So basically from here I can snipe at the tanks in the south, but the tanks that are behind me can't shoot me. So I'm safe from the tanks behind me. And you can see, you can look on the mini-map and look at the tanks that I'm aiming at over here. You can get an idea of what's happening. This is how you flank the enemy team and you turn the tide in the game. Now, because they reversed I could no longer use the auto aim, so I had to go into the sniping mode. You'll also notice that my team is winning in the south. There's only one tank left, the KV-4. And I've got 7 allies over there. So they don't need my help anymore. We're going to go after this T-29. Excuse me. And you'll notice that he's firing his gun, and my ally is going in at him at the same time. So it's going to be a 2-on-1 situation, and you got to time it properly. I'm using the high explosive rounds because I'm working on a mission which is to damage internal modules.
Target acquired. I don't see the target.
So the score is 9-1. I mean, we totally cleaned up in the south. Where I countered the flank, we wiped them clean. On the north corner, either we didn't go there or they won. I don't know exactly what happened. I used a 105 octane gasoline because it gives me the extra power to make the steep climbs up these hills. I prefer to use the fuel consumables. Okay, so now we're getting to the point where we're outside of the purpose of the video. I wanted to show the flanking maneuver and how I do it, so let's move on to another video.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the HT number 6. This is a Japanese tier 6 heavy tank, and the map is whatever it's called. I don't remember. El Haluf. Now you're going to find something interesting in the chat. It's going to come up soon. One of my allies is going to say something that is obviously not going to be true. But you can see that I'm heading towards this rock. If you've watched my other videos, you may have heard me refer to this rock before. Now if you look, it says, "What the fuck are HT doing, noob?" is what the Dicker Max is saying. Now look at where the Dicker Max is on the map. He's pretty much going to stay there the whole game. But I'm not, and I'm going to have a great game here. So you go to the rock over here and you hide in the bush. And over here you're going to spot tanks that are coming through this area. You're going to spot tanks heading across there. You can move into this little dry riverbed, which is going to give you a hull down position. You can move to the next bushes for spotting. And your goal is to advance to these rock formations in front of you and to snipe at tanks that are off in the distance over there that are heading across, and to help any of your allies that are trying to make it across to that side. So let's see what happens. You can see that I already got spotting damage on that Panzer IV. In fact, he's dead. So I helped kill a tank already. And you'll notice that I'm moving back to become more hull down. This guy got so many lucky shots on me. I don't know how he did it. This T-25 too. Okay, maybe he got 2 lucky shots on me. So, you can see that you can hit tanks that are over there. guy's out in the open. I think he's going to disappear, yeah. I made a mistake. I should have kept on shooting at him. That was a mistake that I made. So now I'm going to advance through the bushes. You could advance, obviously, a little bit to the right where it's a little bit lower. I'm going to go to the rock formation.
Ready to fire.
Now, in this type of a situation, the best thing to do is shoot at him when there is cover between you and him. There are trees between us. If I shoot at him right now, he's not going to spot me. That doesn't mean that his allies won't spot me, but he won't spot me because we've got these trees right between us. So you want to take advantage of that. You don't want to shoot him when he's out in the open. If he were in this position driving down, you want to wait until he gets behind the trees before you start firing.
Penetration.
And now he's tracked.
Critical hit.
I am using HE rounds to do a mission that I'm working on. And now he's dead. So I was already responsible for at least 2 kills of enemy players. And that's what it means to take good positioning in the game. I was unable to help with the Hellcat. He's going to run behind the hills. I won't be able to help with him. You do have to be careful for a few different things. Number one, you can get crossfire. You can get shots from that direction and from that direction, and tanks will run down through this opening in front of you. But as you can see, I did make it across. It's not impossible. This is a very slow tank. I do recommend you use any fuel consumables. That's where I go back to check out the Hellcat, and I realized that I was going to be unable to help. So you can see any tanks that try to cross over on that gap over there, you got a lot of open shots. In fact, I missed a chance on that KV-2. When you do this, you have to assume that the enemy knows that you're here, because they will know. You're going to start running into tank destroyers and artillery units. There goes another tank.
Enemy armor is damaged. I don't see the target. Got him.
The tank destroyer, I'm sorry, the SPG, he is going to fire at me, but he's going to miss. He's going to fire at me right at this location right here. And I think I'm too slow to get him. One of my allies is going to get him. Now, the rest of the game is going to be me probably trying to catch up and find another tank, but I'm too slow. My allies are going to get him. Maybe I'm going to get shots on that KV-1. I really don't remember. But I just wanted to show you it's very easy to cut through. We won 13-6. This is one of the games where I had very little resistance. If you watch my videos for El Haluf, you'll see games where I had a lot more trouble and it was a lot more difficult. But if you practice and learn the technique, you should be able to do it no problem with a variety of different tanks.
Time to roll out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the STA-2. This is a Japanese Tier 8 medium tank, and the map is Erlenberg. This game is going to be a little bit different. You probably, if you watch my videos, you're going to know that there's a spotting position I like to go to, which is this bush right in front of me. And what you can do here is spot tanks going across. You can take shots at them. You'll see what will happen. But this game's going to be a little bit different than other games that I've shown. I usually shoot through that gap. Now, I spotted that tank. They're taking shots at him. There's another tank. I'm going to take a shot through the little gap there. You can see I got 800 spotting damage already, and I got spotted. When you get spotted, you want to reverse. Now from here, there is a position you can shoot at. You're going to shoot at the tanks as they go into here, and you will get opportunities to get tanks over there. Now if you watch the minimap, you're going to notice there's an IS-3 behind me and a T-54 Mod 1.
Let's find another target.
So now I got 2 allies going with me, and this changes everything completely. Once the enemy tanks roll by, you want to.
Penetrate their armor.
Once they roll by, you want to get behind them.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
So there's an example of shooting through that little gap. So now with my allies, it's going to be a lot easier to advance. When I advance, I usually advance the way the T-54 is advancing. Well, I'm sorry, to the left of where he's advancing. It's a lot safer to go to the left of the mound, the left of the rubble. You'll notice we have nobody on the east side on my team. They left it completely unexposed.
Where did they go? Enemy armor is destroyed.
If you look at the mini-map, you'll notice that entire side is wide open. This is very dangerous, and people don't understand the magnitude. When that happens, you're going to get sniping shots from that side. So you have to be extremely careful, and you want to stay as far away from the east as possible. This is really dangerously close.
Engine is damaged.
That's an example. It's very dangerous over here.
Enemy armor is hit.
He's going to go again, don't worry. As you can see now, it's a 3-on-1 situation.
Ready to fire. Enemy is hit.
You'll notice that I angled my tank,
I don't see the target. Target lost.
pointed the corner towards him.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
The score is 4-1. You want to run between buildings if you're taking sniping shots. Get as many buildings around you as possible. So now you're going to see the advantage of the flank. This is going to be the actual flank maneuver. Now we've got a situation where the enemy has 4 tanks which could easily come up behind them and surround them. I always go first because, you know, I'm very fast to make decisions. So that T-10, look at that, 281 hit points left. What do you think is going to happen?
Target acquired. Enemy armor is hit.
So now he had to pull back. He had to run and hide. His gun is temporarily removed from the game because he took a hit. Unfortunately, I think the T-10 is going to nail it. Oh no, the Scorpion.
Everyone get out.
Okay, so that Scorpion must have advanced. You know, there's nobody. Okay, you can see that the IS-3 is advancing. But that shows you how easy it is to get around. If we had people defending on the east side, I wouldn't have to watch my back as much. But you could either go this way or you could go around the castle, the south of the castle.
Move out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com, playing World of Tanks. The tank is the FV4202. This is a UK Tier 8, I think it's a medium tank, and the map is Karelia. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drive same route I almost always take, alongside this path here, and we're going to go around, me and one of my allies, we're going to get behind the enemy, and we're going to flank them. So we're going to shoot at them from behind. Take advantage of as many of these shots as you can, obviously.
Target unlocked. Target acquired. Target unlocked.
The position I'm in is a position you want to remember. If you get spotted, this is where you want to hide. You want to know all the rocks, and anytime you get spotted, you head for the nearest rock. Okay, so that tank was moving too fast for the auto aim. Now this right here is also a very safe position. If you're in this area and you get spotted, you want to head for this rock and park right here and angle your tank to minimize exposure to the enemy.
Enemy armor is damaged.
My idea here, I think I wanted to go around the lower level, or maybe because I got spotted, I I wanted to back down. I didn't realize I had allies behind me. Now the problem with what's going on is that my team did not go around the south corner. So we still have all of our allies. They're all kind of in the area where I am, and it's not good. We're too overcrowded. So I thought that I was flanking them for the rear, but I didn't realize that we didn't have a team coming. Well, actually, I did know that there was only one tank destroyer there, but I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't thinking, okay, we're doing the rear flank, but they're all going to come after me, which is what's going to happen at the end of the game. But you can see this is the path you take. You want to stay low, stay in the water as much as possible, but stay out of the water enough to pick up speed. So you're going to drive on the side of the ridge here. So we're going around to sneak up behind these guys, but unfortunately, the concept of flanking didn't really work. I mean, it's kind of stupid for us to all go around the rear.
Ready to fire.
Shoot and ram, always ram whenever you can.
One of our tracks is damaged.
216 ramming damage.
Gotcha. Permission to engage.
Now what's going to happen is, I thought, okay, there's a T-28, I got 3 allies, we're going to gang up on them. But they're quickly going to turn the tables on us. But this game's going to have a great ending. Okay, so here I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to hide behind my dead allies' tank. I'm going to shoot at the T-28 or the T-29. But it gets...
Target acquired. Enemy is hit.
It's going to get worse. And I'm going to show you when. Obviously that was a bad shot. That was a lousy shot. And I got the wrong rounds for this type of tank. Now this is when it gets worse. Now we got a really tough situation. I've got 3 tanks in front of me. Might all have their full health. My ally behind me. But this is going to be a great ending. I'm going to show you something that you can do if you need to.
Penetration.
So somebody nailed me. The defender hit me. I've got 73 hit points left. And notice that my ally is at 100%. And watch what I'm going to do. I didn't know how my ally was doing. I'm going to check his health, and then I'm going to block him. I'm going to block the defender because I'm obviously going to die. I'm going to block the defender so that my ally can escape.
Ready to fire. That one didn't go through.
So you can see I'm checking his health right there. So now I know my ally is at 100%. And look at how I positioned my tank. I'm going to block that defender.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
So by doing so, it lets my ally escape. And unfortunately, although my ally did escape, he was hit by the SU-100 from the rear, which may have tracked him, I'm not sure. But he is going to get finished off in this location. But this is an example of how you do the flank. So the flanking method works. You can get around the back, deal with the snipers, but we had the problem where we didn't have the frontal flank. It just wasn't there.
Time to roll out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the Panther M10. This is a German Tier 7 medium tank, and the map is Overlord. This tank is a Panther tank that is designed to look like the American M10 tank destroyer as a disguise, but it's really a German Panther tank. So I really don't. I played on this map a couple of times, and I don't remember what's going to happen in this game, but I know it's going to be a good game. I'm going to probably get the top damage. I'm going to get the top EXP. It's going to be around 3,000 or 4,000 damage. I'm going to get 4 kills. There's lots of different techniques that I use on this map, but the holy grail is, for me, is to play in the middle of the map. Perhaps this is the one that I'm going to be able to do it. I'm using the bushes as cover. I think this is the one where we chase down the T-71, yeah. The T-71 is going to have a bad day.
Target acquired. Critical hit.
I play light tanks, so I know the importance of killing scouts. Killing scouts should be a priority at all costs. You'll notice that as he moves, if he's driving around, I'm always keeping the front of my tank pointed towards him. So he always has to shoot at my strongest armor.
One of our tracks is damaged. Enemy armor is hit. Penetration. Critical hit.
And I'm trying to predict where he's going. I'm predicting that he's going to come around the side, so I'm going to try and take a shortcut to intercept him.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Keep that auto aim locked on as long as you can. Now you'll notice that there's a VK over there, and I'm going to kind of hang around. I'm only going to go there if I want to shoot at him, but otherwise I'm going to use the slope to protect me. I know that I've got allies that are helping me out, and I'm going to wait for them to catch up and do a 2-on-1 type of situation as much as I can. You'll notice that even though the gun was pointed at the T-71, the little green dot was pointed towards the VK. And the reason why I use the auto aim is because I can keep the gun pointed at the T-71 and my mouse pointed at the VK. You can rewind and see that that's what I was doing. So if I want to switch targets, I can switch whenever I want. You'll notice right now my mouse pointer is close to the VK so that I can switch targets as quickly as possible.
Where did they go?
So now my allies showed up. So now we're going to go all in. Took a lucky shot. You can see that even though the gun was pointed at the T-71, the little green dot was pointed at the VK because I was already on my second target. Don't listen to people who say don't use the auto aim. The auto aim allows me to aim my gun at one tank and prepare to choose another target. And you cannot do that without the auto aim. Okay, so we ganged up on these guys, scores 5-4. We also cleaned up on the east side. This is going to allow us to get behind these tanks as much as possible. I don't know if I'm going to get shots on these arties because my allies obviously are already in the area. Now the SU-8, very predictable. He knows that the T-37 is going after him, so he's going to set up to hit that T-37. But what he doesn't know is I'm going to come around from the other side. And you're going to see right here. You can see that he had his gun aimed towards the T-37 on the left. So he was completely unprepared for the fact that I was coming around behind him. Very predictable. What he did was very predictable, which is why I was able to do it. That was probably friendly artillery coming in.
Ready to fire. Critical hit. Penetration. Enemy is hit.
Now we got the enemy surrounded. Obviously, most of our tanks are in the south, but we did surround the enemy. Now you'll also notice there's an SU-1000Y with 17 hit points left. So he's a high priority target, even though the T-37 might have a shot on him.
Enemy armor is damaged. Target acquired. Enemy armor is destroyed.
But you can see that I had the auto aim locked on the T-29. You can rewind and verify it. And while it was locked on the T-29 and I was waiting to take my shot, I was ready to select the SU-100Y so I could immediately switch targets.
Ready to fire. Critical hit. Enemy armor is hit.
This type of a tank, T-34, T-29, the auto aim is not as effective. You often have to aim manually because you don't want that shot to go too high.
Target released. Critical hit. Permission to engage.
Yeah, he's dead.
Enemy vehicle destroyed. Target acquired.
Hellcat's gun is not pointing towards me, and he's firing. Very safe to go in.
Penetration. Enemy is hit.
And you gotta ram him.
I don't see the target, huh?
Always go for the shoot and ram. So now it's 14 to 10, and there's one tank left, which is the IS-6. I don't really remember how he's going to die, but I guess we're going to find out. I don't think I'm going to kill him because I only get 4 kills in this game. I think he's going to die just as I show up, or maybe I'm going to bounce off of him.
Permission.
Oh, you know what? I think he's going to kill me. No, maybe not. We'll see.
Penetration. Penetration. We didn't even scratch them. Enemy armor is damaged. That one bounced.
Oh.
Ready to fire. Where'd they go?
Okay, so I did 2,500 damage, and I got 4 kills, and that shows you how we were able to take advantage of the fact that they did not defend the east side very well. Now this is going to be a technique that I'm going to show you, which is for SPG players, and it's going to show you a technique you can use to line up your shots. You're going to notice that there's 3 tanks over here, and I believe I'm doing a mission, stun at least 3 enemy vehicles with a single shot twice. So I want to hit these 3 tanks, but I can't do it. I can only hit the defender. The other 2 are too difficult for me to hit. I cannot hit those. So I need to line up they either need to move forward or I need to line up my shot differently. And I'm going to line up my shot, but the way I'm going to do it is a very special technique that you're going to want to learn. So I want to get a different angle. But the problem is there's buildings over here. And this building can block my shot. And I know that the enemy tanks are where the STI is, the ST-1. You can see that there are red enemy markers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition my tank while watching the enemy markers in the distance until they line up with this building. So I'll know that I'll have a clear shot. Watch how I do it. So now here I'm going to start driving, and I'm watching in the distance where the ST-1 is and the enemy tanks. And right at this point, I've decided that the building is not going to block my shot, and I can line up a better shot on these tanks. And the good news is I did complete the mission. You just can't make this up. This really happened.
Ready to fire. Let's find another target. Target acquired.
I did make a mistake because my crew was stunned and I forgot to reset my repair kit. But that actually happened. That's a real game. Now this is an interesting game. I have 5 hit points. And you can look on the minimap. We're playing on Ensk. You can see, you know, like I say, I'm a frontline player. I like to go deep into enemy territory. There's a KV-13. And I don't know what happened. A series of unfortunate events. You'll notice that he's not pointing his gun at me. But watch what happens.
Target unlocked. Ready to fire. Target unlocked. Ready to fire. Critical hit.
He's hiding from somebody. Obviously, I should have shot using the sharpshooter mode.
Bail out. This vehicle has had it. Time to roll out.
Yeah, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. The tank is the STA-2. This is a Japanese Tier 8 medium tank, and the map is Arctic region. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drive through the middle of the map. This is a route that I have done hundreds of times. I've done it a lot with lots of different tanks. And I'm going to go all the way to the south because I want to flank the enemy. I'm going to get behind the enemy to try and take shots at them on the southeast side. The enemy is going to chase after me. And something interesting is going to happen at the end. You're going to see a nice technique for how to deal with an enemy tank chasing after you when you're near the water. Now, what that tank didn't realize is that I often stop here. We spotted the CDC, and there's a risk that you might be spotted, so I often stop at this position, which is why the M41 ran into me. He's going to turn around, and he's going to go in a completely separate part of the map. So you can see you can go here with almost any tank. You just got to stay in the right position. You do have to be careful. That's the evil bat chat, I think, that we're going to have fun with later.
Ready to fire.
Use the bush for cover. Okay, so I was spotted. There's 2 tanks up there, so you got to be careful. A lot more dangerous when there's 2 tanks up on that ridge. This is a position where you can sit and wait to become unspotted. You got a bush to hide in. You got a lower level to keep yourself held down. You'll notice that there's a lot of enemy tanks on the east side, and I'm going to try and get behind them. One way is to go to the bush over here, stay between the rocks. I got spotted. I don't know who spotted me. The CDC came down. He probably went looking for me. So I can't go that way. The CDC is a fast tank, but you'll notice it's wide open over here. Look at where I am on the mini-map. I think the CDC might come after me.
Target acquired. Target unlocked. We didn't even scratch them.
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to make it across to get to a safe position. From here, often you can snipe tanks that are off in the distance there, where the T-32 is. However, there are no tanks on the lowest level at this point. My team is further back, and they're letting the enemy come around. So it makes it more difficult for me to do my job, because now I have to get closer to the enemy. I have to be in a more dangerous position in order to fight the rear flank. If my team were pushing them back, you could take up any position here in the back and snipe at them. Unfortunately, the CDC came after me and the bat chat. Now, I know that it's going to be very difficult for me to get out of this 2-on-1, and I'm not in a good position. However, I came up with a plan. Watch how the bat chat comes in. And I know that the bat chat is coming in after me. He's very close to CDC, is far away. So I've got a plan to kill that bat chat. And the plan is basically to push him in the water. And what you have to do is you have to watch how he comes in. He's going to come in a certain way, either on top of me or to my side, and you have to predict where he's going to go, and you have to use your engine, the reverse of the engine, or ideally you want to turn it around so you can push him in forward, but you want to push him into the water, and I am going to do that. So I'm watching how he's coming in, plus I'm ready to shoot at him. He's watching me. He's trying to come up with a way to figure out how he's going to come after me. There's the CDC. I had to move into a different position because the CDC showed up. But now here's the point where the bat chat's going to come after me. Watch how I push him into the water. And it was definitely done on purpose. Right there. He tried to go around me.
We're lucky it didn't blow.
You can rewind. He tried to go around me, but I turned my tank to follow him as he goes around. And I'm probably going to keep turning it to push him in. And there he goes.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
But unfortunately, he killed me, and he survived. And he climbed out. However, the technique does work. What I wanted to show you is that's the technique. When they think they're going to come in and drive around you and get away, you have to turn your tank with them, predict where they're going to go, and then push them in.